never tell my daughter to have an OnlyFans or be a stripper.
You don't have to tell her. That's whatever she wants.
No, but what if
she?
So why would I deal with somebody like that if I'm the type of guy that would never want my daughter to do shit like that?
That's what you could tell your daughter not to do that.
I'm not getting mad. I'm just saying it's common sense to me.
You could tell your daughter not to do that, but she gonna walk out that door and go hang with that do that. So what's gonna happen? She's gonna feel me. She could. Her probably gonna show her that check. Like, look how much I made a month. She gonna want to do it.
Exactly. She could want to do it, but me being I'm not a father yet, but eventually when I am a father, me being a stern, steady father that's in her life, that cares about her, that lets her know the type of woman I want her to be. So I have a better chance of making her like me, which is anytime somebody brings up some shit like that, she automatically thinks that shit sound wild. My father would never condone that.
So basically, back to what I was saying.
That's what the world is missing, family values, but continue.
So more than 30 years ago, Dr. Claude Anderson argued that Black America's greatest challenge wasn't simply racism or discrimination. He believed that we were also undermining ourselves through behaviors that weaken our families, our institutions, and our economic power. Dr. Anderson repeatedly taught that no people become powerful simply because they possess talent. Power comes from organization, discipline, ownership, and long-term planning. So today, I want to ask an uncomfortable question for y'all. Have many of Dr. Anderson's warnings become our reality these days, especially here in 2026? Because across America, we continue to see declining health, increasing violence in some communities, educational struggles, shrinking political influence in a lot of areas, fewer Black-owned businesses, control of any industries, the degradation of the Black family, the degradation of the Black man, the degradation of the Black woman, the degradation of the Black children, the doing away of morals and values, the promotion of pimp hoe culture, the promotion of violence, the promotion of stealing, scamming, drug usage. It's like, if you are not doing these things, then you are not Black. So another question is this behavior simply a result of systematic barriers, or have our own choices actually played a role in where we are today? So once again, today we're going to examine the evidence, not to shame anyone, but to honestly ask whether changing our behavior is necessary if we want a different future. Because this is the stuff that India Ari was critiquing, right? So welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants. Happy Friday. I am Joseph Ward. If this is your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are revisiting Dr. Claude Anderson's lecture on inappropriate behavior. We're going to revisit that, and I want to juxtapose it to a couple videos that I have. I showed the first one. The conversation is a few young people, and they are trying to convince a young man that he's doing wrong if he is teaching his daughter not to be an OF model, not to be out there selling her stuff digitally. He should allow her to do what she want to do because she's going to do it anyway. And he's trying to tell them, well, she's not going to do that if the proper values are instilled in her. If she's raised to respect herself, if she's raised to not see her body as a commodity, she won't operate like that. But they like, nah, she gonna operate like that anyway, so you might as well just let it happen. That is the result of decades of inappropriate behavior, because these are young people. Remember this. These are young people growing up in this culture, in this toxic, debaucherous culture that we have passed down to them. And I was watching the video earlier, and I love what the lady was saying. And as a matter of fact, it was one of the women's panels that the brother Jeff St. James had. And shout out to the Ask a Brother podcast. Y'all go over there and subscribe if you have not already. Shout out to that brother. He's doing great work over there. But one of the conversations he was having with the ladies, and the lady said that the degenerate behavior that is promoted today in Black America did exist when she was coming up. So she's talking about like 80s and 90s, early 2000s. The degeneracy existed, but it existed in controlled pockets. It wasn't promoted like it is today. It wasn't exalted like it is today. But that's the total difference, right? But check the point what she's saying. She's not being delusional and acting like the debaucherous behavior just started, 10, 15 years ago. No, it was already there. It was bubbling, but now it's come to the surface. So those people, remember, those people had children, and then it just kept being passed down. That culture has been passed down from generation to generation. And if you have more people passing down that culture, then culture with strong values and morals that can actually lead us to becoming stronger people, then we will be weaker people engaging infinitely in inappropriate behavior. So make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share this video, hit that hype button. If you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to this channel, and make sure you tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Y'all help a brother out. Let's get these views up. Let's get these likes up. Let's get these hypes up. Let's get these subscribes up. Let's get all this up. Let's take this channel to the moon. I just passed 80,000 subscribers. Thank you all to everybody who has been supporting this channel. Y'all are the greatest, and I want to continue. So I'm trying to get to 100,000. So let's go ahead and please help a brother out to get to 100,000 subscribers real soon. So let's jump into this, man. So let's remember, Dr. Claude Anderson's core philosophy is power is built through ownership, group economics, strong families, education, political leverage, discipline, institution building, and long-term planning. He argues that people without these foundations remain dependent on others. But remember, you cannot have ownership, group economics, strong families, education, political leverage, institution building, and long-term planning if you don't have discipline. Discipline, education, and strong families are like the foundation of this. What are our core values and morals today as Black Americans? Because remember, right now, Black people are fighting to be able to wear bedroom attire in professional settings that are preparing you for further professional realms in institutions at Tuskegee University. Tuskegee. So we got to think about where we are, but at the same time, I understand. I'm not trying to convince nobody to do nothing. If the message resonates, I hope it resonates. If it doesn't, hey, it is what it is. But let me say this. Let me get into this point, and then I'm gonna play this Dr. Claude Anderson video. And as this Claude Anderson video goes, I'm gonna go through my notes, and then I have another video, and then we're gonna close this thing on. But taking it piece by piece, because we need to break it down as much as we can so we can understand, right? So one of the first points is consumerism instead of ownership. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound accurate? Consumerism over ownership. He argues that Black Americans spend enormous amount of money but own relatively little of what they purchase. And we know Black people today, we don't own as much as our forefathers did. We have to have the latest of this, the latest of that. And we don't have real ownership either. There's a small percentage of Black people who own things. Like, we don't even really realize, like, the small percentage of Black Americans, the small percentage of Americans, period, who really have access to ownership, but especially Black Americans, right? But instead of ownership, we like to purchase clothes, luxury cars, jewelry. We like to be entertained. We like shoes, and we like technology, especially nowadays. So our money is flowing out of our community more than it is coming in and being used to make more money. How much of that money that we spend stay in the Black community? Because I think they say the black dollar stays in the community for a few hours, if an hour, and it can stay in other communities for days, how much of that money that we put out, how much of this so-called ownership that we have is actually producing jobs for other black people? Most black businesses cannot hire other black people. Most black businesses cannot hire other black people because they don't have the capital. Remember, consumption creates wealth for producers, not necessarily consumers. If you are producing, yes, you want people to consume, but that consumption is a part of the inappropriate behavior, but it's also a part of the programming. But Dr. Claude Anderson, like many others, have been fighting for us to break the programming and to realize what the programming is doing to us. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to this Dr. Claude Anderson video. And like I said, I'll stop time to time to make sure I connect it with my notes. So let's do this.
First manumission came into effect in 1710 and says, we will pay, we will reward, we will recognize, we will set free any black person does one of four things. One, if you in fact will save a white person's life. I told you about the young man on the boat with the eagle. There were 5 or 6 years before that. If you save a white person's life, you will get your freedom. 2, if you protect a white person's property. 3, if you invent something that a white person can make wealth and power off of, some kind of an invention. And 4, if you in fact will squeal on, inform on, or tell on your own people. That was called meritorious manumission. Now, you all might say, why is that important? I'm gonna tell you, that was so devastatingly important. And the reason it was so important because that created a magnificent control system that has never been duplicated. Never been duplicated. As a matter of fact, it has only been replicated one time that I know of, and I'm usually pretty current on most issues in this country, psychological, sociological, historical, and educational in this country. Only one time it's been duplicated. It was duplicated in the 1950s. The communists duplicated it in Korea. They call it brainwashing. Now, you might ask, what is brainwashing? Now, typically, people in the 1950s, when it happened in the Korean War, we talked about brainwashing. See, now I was a safety and survival engineer for my squadron. I was in a Marine attack squadron. My primary responsibility was to teach my people how to survive. We had a school for brainwashing in Barbers Point, Hawaii. Teach them how to survive. What's brainwashing? Well, most people, at least the guys in the Marine Corps, they thought that brainwashing would be some kind of a inhumane way of treating people. That it would be no less than pulling out fingernails, driving bamboo splinters between the joints, hanging people up in the cold and castrating them, what we call the Chinese water torture. But brainwashing was none of those things. Was none of those things. Brainwashing was simply a very sophisticated form of re-education. And see, for you all in the auditorium this morning, brainwashing, so that you'll always remember it, is nothing but group therapy run in reverse. We always remember that. Now, the whole point of group therapy is to bring people together. Brainwashing is to turn it backwards and scatter people apart.
You heard what he said. Brainwashing is designed to scatter people apart. Are we not scattered apart? Are we not scattered apart? And another tool to use in that brainwashing is entertainment. You know, one of the 9 areas of activity that Neely Fuller Jr. talks about, right? So entertainment over education is how you help to brainwash people. Entertainment over education. So Dr. Anderson criticized the imbalance between investment in entertainment versus intellectual development. Look at our community. Look at the number of our children who struggle to read and comprehend what they read versus who are geniuses when it comes to entertainment, right? They spend hours on social media. The phones are glued to their hands. They're glued to these screens. They're engaged in celebrity gossip, sports debates, reality television, all of that stuff. Look at the social media. Look at the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, Snapchat, all the new stuff that they got, even here on YouTube, right? What how many of our black people, period, not even the young people, but how many of our black people, period? Because this is all age groups. How many of our black people are engaging like heavily in financial literacy, or actually really reading, who actually really read, who actually really jump in business education, skilled trades, STEM, like building families, actually making ourselves better black people so we can have better families, better communities, and a better fighting chance for ourselves. We would rather spend time fighting against each other and engaging in entertainment that teaches us to fight against each other than engaging in things that would actually be constructive and conducive to us becoming powerful. But that's a part of the inappropriate behavior that Dr. Anderson is talking about. Remember, education compounds over generations. Entertainment is temporary. It's a temporary hit. It's like a little quick nut. You get it and you're done.
And that was very effective in Korea against our troops. And see, now I'm going to show you the different parallels, what happened in 1710 and what happened in 1950, so you can understand the implications of what's happened to black folk in America. Otherwise, you can't deal with the issue. So in 1950, we had approximately 7,000 Americans in prisoner war camps in North Korea and China. 7,000 Americans have been captured and put into war camps before they were subjected to brainwashing. And after they were subjected to brainwashing, starting from the time they were captured, do you know that in that course of time, almost 4 years, we did not have one single solitary American prisoner to escape from a prisoner war camp? That had never happened in the history of this nation, that you can contain that many soldiers in one or two places and never have one to escape. Not one escaped out of 7,000 in almost 4 years. And to tell you the truth, in some of those camps, they didn't even have fences or walls up. Some of them didn't even have guards. And our people could not escape because of the techniques of brainwashing that was used on them. You would say, now, what was happening to them? They were being devastatedly re-educated. And this is the same identical technique that was used in 1710 on black folk. The whole concept of integration was the same thing that today. They scattered them. Now, what happened in Korea? In Korea, we noticed certain kind of things were happening to the prisoners. They didn't act like prisoners anymore. See, when a guy when he was captured as a prisoner, the first responsibility was to try to escape, not to participate, not to cooperate with the enemy, not to compromise one's principles. But to always try to fight, resist, and get out, and to compete to help your own people to escape if you can. Didn't happen in Korea. Because you see, brainwashing, reverse technique of group therapy, first of all, what it did, it divided the soldiers against each other. Divided the soldiers against each other. And there's a whole revolutionary principle that says that a revolution comes when two people get together and begin to conspire. You can never have a revolution or an insurrection on earth as long as you drive a wedge between the first two people. You drive a wedge between the first two people, you'll never have a revolt. And in Korea, we never had a revolt. Secondly, people can only organize if they get together. But see, what the communists did, they started an information system, a squealing system, an informing system. And what we found in Korea was they had the most massive, widespread information system ever on earth, where people were recognizing other people or identifying other people who were planning on escaping.
So I'm going to link that to our public dysfunction. Because like he's saying, people who are against each other will never come together. If we see each other as enemies because of the brainwashing, because of the inappropriate behavior, we see each other as enemies, we'll never come together, right? But that leads to our public dysfunction. And Dr. Anderson was talking about our public dysfunction back in the 90s. Public fighting, there are TV shows dedicated to black people fighting each other. TV shows dedicated to social media conflict. TV shows dedicated to excessive public arguments. TV shows dedicated to disrespectful conduct in businesses. TV shows dedicated to viral confrontations. Our public dysfunction has become so bad that it has become something that's monetizable to white people and others. Even other groups of black people are monetizing off of the Black American public dysfunction. Ain't no way in hell we gonna come together no time soon operating like this. Right? So whether fair or unfair, public behavior influences perceptions, trust, and willingness to invest in neighborhoods and to invest in each other. If I see you as my op, I'm gonna rather run down on you than empower you.
And what the communists were doing was telling people, look, you all got a responsibility now as a prisoner. If you hear about another prisoner talking about escaping, it's your responsibility to inform on him and tell on him. And if you do that, we'll reward you. You get an extra candy bar and apple. And once that happens, you see pretty soon, the soldiers didn't know who to trust anymore. They didn't know who to tell anything to. If he was planning on escaping, who did he tell? He didn't know when the other guy's going to turn him in for a reward. And so the organization broke down. They quit communicating and sharing information to each other. Because all of a sudden you were planning on escape. Next day someone drags you out in the cold, strips you down, and pours ice water on you at 26 below zero because somebody just turned you in for an apple and a piece of candy. And see, that's what happened in meritorious manumission in 1710 when blacks were being rewarded for turning in other blacks. See, also what it does is not only does it now it stops your communication, it stops your the ability to organize, but also it broke down what we have to have is a sense of community. Mm-hmm. In none of those camps do they have a sense of community anymore in Korea. Without a sense of community, you have no way of doing the things that have to be done as a human being.
Without a sense of community, you will lack economic cooperation. There will be no economic cooperation amongst people who lack a sense of community. Just think about it. How often do we or can we hire one another? How often do we invest together? How often do we bank together? How often do we actually trust each other enough to buy from one another? How often are we actually really building businesses together? And we're talking about the dollar circulation, right? We talked about that earlier, right? But Dr. Anderson believed other communities often circulate dollars internally for longer periods through dense business networks, through estimates of how long money stays within communities and how often overstated that should be, and how that's often overstated. But that goes back to the sense of community, the trust in one another, the trust in community. Us seeing each other as viable and capable business partners to be able to create real economic infrastructures for ourselves. But if I don't have a sense of community with you, I don't have a sense of commonality with you, you might look like me, but you remind me of the worst of me. So therefore, I got a problem with you. And I can't rock with you. And I can't trust you because I don't trust me.
And so in the prison war camps in Korea, all of a sudden the camps became filthy, the black camps. Nobody built latrines. Nobody made sure there was food and blankets passed out. Nobody took care of the sick. Because you don't have a community anymore. Without a community, you can't do anything. So we didn't have a community in Korea, in the camps. And out of 7,000 prisoners you had in Korea, almost half of them died. They didn't die because anybody shot them. They died from the fact that they were unable to function appropriately, to take care of themselves, to function as a community. They no longer had what you gotta have and what black folk had taken from them through meritorious manumission. See, once you get a community, the next thing you must have above that is your trust. You cannot have trust if you don't have a community.
Right.
I always hear black folks say, Dr. Anderson, all the things you say are true, but how can I get together another black folk when I don't trust them?
We don't trust each other.
You don't have a community. And and above trust comes cooperation. But Dr. Anderson, I don't want to work with him. No, because you don't trust him. So it goes community, trust, cooperation. And that's what they did in Korea. They killed the community. The black soldiers no longer had community, and prisoners no longer had a sense of a community. They no longer had a sense of who they were, what they were about, the business of, and who they were. And all of a sudden, that kind of an oppressive system of rewarding people for identifying with the enemy, and that's what the Koreans were doing, saying you identify with us, and we'll reward you and give you a can and an apple. And when they started rewarding people, the community was destroyed. And their soldiers fell apart. And over half of them died. And so the next thing that happened to them is what also happened to the black community. After 1710, they moved into a thing what we call give-up-itis. All of a sudden, the soldiers in Korea, in those camps, no longer cared about anything anymore. I come into the Crenshaw district and I said, why don't you do this? They said, well, we don't care anymore. Same thing happened in the prisoner of war camps. The soldiers didn't care. And once they lost caring, they were through. Nobody could save them anymore.
Once you don't care about yourself no more, you cannot be saved. That's a stark reality a lot of us have to deal with. Too many of us will not be saved because they don't care. A lot of people don't like to hear the reality of the hopelessness that has infected our community, but our community is infected nevertheless with hopelessness. People don't care about themselves. Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote about it in Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, called it vacant esteem. But when you don't care about yourselves no more, that leads to weak family structures, because babies are still going to be made, but families won't be created. And therefore you have weak or even non-existing family structures. There's no emphasis on marriage. Marriage, what the hell is that? Matter of fact, women are saying marriage is slavery, and men are saying marriage will ruin you. Two-parent households are a thing of yesterday. In a lot of regards, depending on who the woman is, or depending on who the man is. Fathers don't exist. So there's no marriage, no two-parent households, no fathers. And there are a lot of mothers out here who are horrible mothers. You got deadbeat daddies and horrible mothers. So with that, you can't and you won't build generational wealth. If your mama trash, your daddy trash, your family trash, all the adults who's not supposed to be trash, if they are actually trash, how the hell are you gonna build generational wealth? Research has indicated stable family environments with improved average outcomes for children across income, education, and wealth, while recognizing that many single parents raise successful children under challenging circumstances. Excuse me, I read that wrong. So research has associated stable family environments with improved average outcomes for children across income, education, and health, while recognizing that many single parents raise successful children under challenging circumstances. That's what my notes are saying. Yes, but children have better chances and better outcomes when they come from two-parent households. And the thing is, we don't have to make single parents feel good because we're praising two-parent households. Because the two-parent household should be the norm. As somebody who grew up in a single-parent household, trust me, we don't have to praise single parents, or we don't have to placate single parents, or even try to, appeal to their feelings when we are speaking on the importance of two-parent households. Because those are the cracks in the foundation that lead to the flooding. We're not going to denigrate single parents. We're not casting out single parents, but we are talking about the benefit of two-parent households. So I just did want to say that because that was my notes. trying to do that. Stay on topic. We're talking about the benefits of two-parent households. Notes.
And at night, over 40% of those soldiers would pull blankets over their head and just sit there in the corner and die for no apparent reason. Not for physical reasons. It was called give-up-itis, and you've seen it in hospitals. That's when a person would die long before he's supposed to. And you ask why? When a husband passed and the wife would die 6 months later, 3 months later. Not for any medical reason, because they no longer have a will to live. And that's what happened in those camps. We lost over half our soldiers because they lost their will to live. And see, after meritorious manumission was put on black folk in 1710, black folk, a lot of them began to lose their will to live and to care and be responsible. So jumping back to 1710, so you understand what brainwashing is and the impact on black folk. I want you all to understand that was a re-educational system. So when that happened in 1710, the word spread. And down in Jamaica, there was a fellow named Willie Lynch that heard about it. And he was already running a seasoning school for slaves in the South of Jamaica.
A nigga
so then he caught a
factory.
boat and headed for America, headed for Virginia, where the meritorious manumission had been initially enacted. He got there in 1712. And just like the communists did in Korea, he came up with the same expression: gentlemen, I'm here to take care of your needs. I can show you how to do what you want to have done. I can show you how to divide these slaves so they'll never recover, or at least it'll take 300 years before they can do it. So some of you might wonder why I picked in my book the year 2013. This coming year in 2013 would be almost exactly 300 years since Willie Lynch put his methods on black folk. He said it would take 300 years. He said, what I'll do is to show you how you divide blacks. You divide blacks along the lines of skin color. You rig it so every black will look at another black skin color first and say, is he a yellow black or black black? And that way you've already divided them. You divide them along the lines of sex, so that all of a sudden you'll have black women joining the feminist movement against their own black men. They're trying to beat them out of jobs and opportunity and visibility to take care of their families. So you divide them along the lines of sex. Then you divide them along the lines of age, where the old turn against the young turn against the old and say, you're ancient, you're old, I don't want to listen to you anymore. And it worked very effectively. And Willie Lynch put that on them. It's called divide and conquer. Divide and conquer was the same in 1710 as it was in 1950 in Korea.
And see, that meritorious manumission and that divide and conquer, all of that leads to black people seeing each other in a way, seeing each other as non-valuable, which will lead to us being violent against each other with no remorse. Because, like, who suffers the most from the violence that we endure? Because we black people in America, we endure violence from every group of people in America. Every group, including our own. And it negatively affects black families. It negatively affects black neighborhoods, black businesses, black children. That affects our future. That's a loss of an investment in our future. That's an insurance cost, that's business leaving, that's fear being instilled within our communities. That's more division being instilled within our community. There's more hatred being embedded within our community. But it's more incentive for us to be able to kill each other and do away with each other, because that's what we're supposed to do. Because remember, we think twice before we take a white person's life for the most part. Remember that. I've heard gangsters make excuses for why they don't take out white people randomly the same way they do black people.
Black folk became invited. And so from 1750 up to about from 1710 up to 1750, the system started going into effect. The social conditioning, the brainwashing of black folk took off full steam then. Because see, now they were very concerned about all these black slaves. We had to control them. And people say, well, how are we going to control them? It's the first way, and there are three ways you do it, but the first way is by physical control. Always control a black person physically. That's what slavery is about. The second way of controlling them was called Jim Crowism. Then you control them legally. Then the third way you control them is when we came out of the civil rights movement, which means symbolically. You control them by manipulating symbols. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So they went into the first thing of controlling black folk physically with slavery. By 1750, the black population got up to 34% in America. And they were very concerned about this because you see all these slaves were pouring in across the water, so they started advertising to bring in more immigrants. They said, what we need are more white immigrants to dilute. Remember I told you the Diversity Act said we must have so many whites. So we got to have an immigration law that bring in more whites to neutralize blacks out, to keep them contained, to keep them in as a minority. We'll fix it so they'll love that word minority. They'll use it all the time and call themselves that. Even though we know the minority means loser. We'll turn the world upside down. They'll call themselves loser, loser, loser. So by 1750, black population hit 34%. So what the white society started doing then, it says, we must do what they didn't say that then, but the effect was the same. What happened in Korea? We must isolate them. So every Indian treaty from that point on started putting in conclusions saying that you must also stay away from black folk. They built into all the Indian treaties incentives for them not to identify with black folk because they feared that if Indians and blacks got together, they could overthrow the country. So Indians were given incentives then to turn against black people. And that's why later on you find that the biggest killers of black folk for a long period of time were Indians. Because they were given incentives. For instance, if you raided a town or a village, guess who was the first person you run into in the fields? Was a black person. And see, and you had laws because the slave codes of 1705 says a black person could not arm himself, he couldn't carry a weapon, he couldn't carry a tool, he could not raise his hand to defend himself, he could not strike back. So Indians said, hey, we got a good guy to raid. I mean, this is like shooting ducks. And the whites knew that. When they put the blacks out in the field, they used blacks for burglar alarms. So every time there was an Indian raid, they the ones that went down first. And that's why all the 5 civilized tribes in America then became slaveholders. All the 5 civilized Indian tribes were slaveholders. Not only were they slaveholders, they were slave traders. And more important than that, in all the treaties, typically in a treaty, they paid the Indians $20 for every runaway slave they would chase down and brought him back. And that's why also when the Civil War came, all the 5 civilized tribes in America fought with the side of the South to prefer slavery because they didn't want to lose their money and wealth either. And I still have blacks running around saying, well, I'm half Indian. Nobody wants to be black. I mean, even if here's people that have been misusing your people too, but you don't want to be it. They'll tell me about how, well, I'm 3/4 white. I can't stand black folk. I'm 3/4 white. I said, well, why would you want to be white rather than blacks? I said, blacks didn't enslave you. Blacks didn't Jim Crow you. Blacks didn't castrate and lynch you and exploit you. And see, that's that upside down, we make black folks see things upside down and wrong. It's inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate behavior pattern was instituted on us to make sure we saw everything backwards. That way when we ran, we thought we were running the right way, we were running the wrong way, and they knew it. And that's why you later hear me tell black folk all over America that my people, black folk, are doing everything wrong. They're not even doing wrong right. Because you see everything's pointed upside down for us, so they can't see which way to run. And so at that time, in 1750s, the colonies then tried to figure out how to contain the whole issue. So we got our controls in place, we got the social conditioning in place, and I think we got blacks pretty well where we need them. We got them nailed down. So then they then started telling England, don't send any more slaves over here to make sure it works. So Continental Congress sent all kind of letters to England saying, don't send any more slaves to make sure our system of control works. But England said, no, I'm gonna keep sending them because we're getting rich off of it. England said, we're making a fabulous amount of money because we set up the Navigational Act in 1650, which says, I don't care what you all produce in America, it must come back to England first.
I'm gonna stop this video right there because he basically got the point that I wanted him to get to. Got to the point I wanted him to get to, right? Laying down the foundation of this inappropriate behavior that we exalt today. Another aspect of this inappropriate behavior is image and representation. Who the hell is representing Black America? Think about the people who represent Black America. Politicians, rappers, internet personalities, celebrities, athletes, reality TV show people, influencers, most of the people in the entertainment realm. And you can throw politicians in there too. Right? Those are the people who represent Black America. Not our grassroots leaders, not mothers, not fathers, not scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, professors, doctors, like true leaders who actually have a real resume, people who make you feel good, and people who have a following as far as representation and celebrity wise become the ones who represent us and the leaders, which is a problem because we are never appointing our own leaders. We're always accepting the leaders that white folk give us. Remember, we have literacy challenges in many of our Black school districts around this country. We have skill gaps with our children. Children are not passing. They're not getting the help that they need. The family structure is not there. The school structure is not there. The communal structure is not there. Black children are not getting the attention that they deserve. The Black community, we're not giving ourselves the attention that we deserve from each other. So that means if our education is trash, then our economics is trash. Now, do we have individuals who make things happen? Yes, but for the most part, Black America is hurting economically as a whole. Politically, we are weak. Where's our power politically? 92% of the Black people who vote Democrat and get nothing. The rest of the voters either sit out, vote third party, vote Republican. Either way, whatever political strategy we're using, it's not working for us. We're depending on parties who don't give a damn about us, but our inappropriate behavior won't allow us. So if the Democrats make me mad, I'm gonna hop to Republicans. And if the Republicans make me mad, I'm gonna hop Democrat. And if both make me mad, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But what we won't do is come together to build real political power. Social media definitely has an impact on our community. It has literally socially engineered or re-engineered the way we operate, the way we think. It thinks for us. It behaves for us. It tells us how to exist, and we don't control social media. And then look at the content that Black people put on social media. Look at the content that usually goes viral. The dumbest stuff usually go viral. Inappropriate behavior. Black households have lower median wealth than white households on average. Black business ownership has grown in recent years, but most Black businesses remain very small and face higher barriers to capital, and they can't really employ people. Home ownership rates among Black Americans remain substantially lower than the national average. Violent crime is highly concentrated geographically, and most victims of violence know the people involved. Educational outcomes vary significantly by neighborhood, school resources, and family circumstances. So we know the majority of the Black neighborhoods that The black schools and black neighborhoods receive the least funding and the least resources. These patterns are shaped by both historical and contemporary factors, including discrimination, access to capital, public policy, neighborhood conditions, and individual and collective decisions. So, was Dr. Claude Anderson right about the importance of our behavior and the importance of doing away with inappropriate behavior? Can a community become economically powerful without discipline? What behaviors should parents teach children today? Is social media making these problems worse? How do we encourage accountability without ignoring systematic barriers? And what examples of positive behavior and institution building deserve more attention? Let me read that again. What examples of positive behavior and institution building deserve more attention? Dr. Claude Anderson's message was not simply about criticizing Black America. That's low-hanging fruit, right? It was about building power, about being able to change mindsets to get to a power-building mindset, right? His central argument was that communities become stronger when they organize, when they own productive assets, when they educate their children, when they support stable institutions, and they think beyond the next election or the next paycheck, or they think beyond themselves. Whether you agree with all of his conclusions or not, his challenge remains relevant. If we want different outcomes, what habits, what behaviors, what investments, institutions, values, morals, principles, all these things are we willing to change to strengthen today so we can actually have a powerful tomorrow? Our behaviors matter. So check this. One last video I want to show you. One last video to show you how far the inappropriate behavior has gone in our community. Remember, no family structure, no principles, morals, values, all these things that actually help empower us. So this is what it looks like when the family structure is totally gone.
No, I didn't hear you.
Next time when I call you, you answer me. Do you understand?
I didn't hear you. What do you want?
Well, obviously, it's too late now. I'm talking to myself.
Keefon, what do you want? I'm watching TV, minding my business, and you coming in here all hostile about nothing.
Well, now it's too late because you don't want to listen.
Well, no, I'm not going to listen, of course, now. I don't want to listen. So now what?
Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a lazy ass something to do.
What? Keefon, why are you doing that?
Pick that up, maid.
Keefon.
I see you clean up like I thought you would. Now are you ready to listen?
Keefon, let me tell you something.
What?
If you touch anything else of mine, you're gonna regret it.
What about that?
Get out of my room now. Get out of my room now.
Now you gotta clean it up.
Get out of...
I did a video on this kid last.
I'm just saying, whether that was a skit or not, it still proves the point. Why would you make a skit like that? If it's not real, why would you do that? Because there's several videos of them doing things like this. Whether it's a skit or not. If it's a skit, it still goes to the point of the dumbass entertainment that we will put out or indulge in. And if it's real, it still proves the destruction of the Black family has led to behaviors like this, inappropriate behaviors. You can't build behaving like that. Real or fake, you can't build behaving like that. Dr. Anderson warned us We didn't listen. Not enough of us listen. So the niggatry is here. I don't know what type of future we gonna have as a collective. But I know enough of us can do what we can to make sure that those around us and those connected with us have a bright future. I can't make you do nothing. I can only give you the information, and it's up for you to use it. So with that being said, I am Joseph Ward. Happy Friday. I want to lay this on your heart. And remember, I will be live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, looking at the interview with Don Lemon and E, the haircut man from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, who claims to be a friend of the Nolan Wells family and is trying to convince people that racism don't exist in Mississippi no more. So appreciate y'all support. So please hit that like button, comment, hype, subscribe if you have not, share this video, and I catch y'all on the other side. I appreciate y'all, love y'all. Now catch that next video coming up. All right.